Hi, good day. Welcome back to our Mobile Technology Tool lecture video. Today we will be discussing CodeIgniter for API, or we will be developing an application programming interface using CodeIgniter 4. Previously, we have created a CodeIgniter for web application that has the four CRUD operations, or create, read, update, and delete. Today we will be developing an API that will accept the four operations HTTP methods such as post, get, put, and delete. So the prerequisite of this lecture video will be the CodeIgniter for CRUD operations with one database table. You will see those in the card above. So at the end of this lesson, the students are expected to create a RESTful API that accepts get, post, put, and delete HTTP methods. So first, let's create an API controller with the file name api.php. So let's open our project folder, right-click the folder, and open with Visual Studio Code. Then, let's create a new controller named, let's minimize this, new controller named api.php. So let's just copy the student controller, paste, and rename this to API. And API, save. Next. So inside the API controller, we will have one method named student. This method will handle post, get, put, and delete HTTP methods. So inside our code, let's just comment this out. Because we will reuse some of this later. Then let's add a new function. Just copy this one and name it student. So once this method is called, we will first check the HTTP methods. So get the posted method, then output that the specified HTTP method. Next, then we will use Postman as an API client. So let's open Postman. So here's Postman. Let's add a new request. Then let's type in the URL. So in this case, our URL will be localhost itech222 API then student. Send. Internal server error. This request, let me check the result. Where is the result? Oh, here it is. Call to undefined get method. Okay, let's check our code. Oh, we forgot the arrow. Okay, then run it again. Okay, but this is showing because when we let's open the browser. When we open our CodeIgniter for application, as you can see, there is a debugger here. So that's why when we call the API, it also shows the debugger below. So let's go to our root folder, then open env, then let's change from development to production so that the debugger will disappear. So let's refresh. As you can see, there is no debugger anymore, so that when we try the API, the debugger will also disappear. So as you can see, in our API, we are returning the HTTP method that was requested by the API client. In this case, our API client is Postman. Let's try to change the HTTP method to post, send, and it will also return the specified HTTP method. Let's try put, it will return put, delete, it will return delete. So let's go back to the presentation. So Postman is an API client. Later on, once we've already developed our API endpoint, we will implement this API on our React Native application. And that will be another API client. So we will have multiple API clients. So after opening Postman, we just type in the URL. So for testing purposes, we use localhost, then our project folder, the controller, then the method. So API is the controller and student is the method inside the controller. So this is the controller API, then a student method. Okay, next. So click send and the result will be the HTTP request method that you specify on the in Postman. So if you use get, it will return get. Okay, next. Next, we will now add an if-else statement to check which HTTP request method is requested by the client. So since we will just use one method for each entity, then check whatever HTTP method the client wants to use. So let's add an if-else statement here inside student method. If method is equal to first, you use get, then this will go inside this code, else if what are those methods? Post, put, and delete. Post, put, and delete. Let's now delete the echo. Save. And next, let's use the student model for our CRUD operation. Since we have already the 4 CRUD operations inside student model, here, let's open student model. We will just be reusing this model, the methods inside the model. So the get student info, if the API client is requesting for a list of students, let's move this here. Where is the student? Okay. And if the user or the API client wants to post a student record, we will be using this method. For update, this method, and for delete, this method. So since we have copied the student controller, we already have a construct here. So next. But first, let's understand that all HTTP data, the result and the request are all in JSON format or in JavaScript object notation. So this is a sample result in JSON format. And PHP has some built-in functions to handle JSON, and all API results and requests should always be encoded in JSON format. And it's just like a multi-dimensional array. So objects in PHP can be converted into JSON by using the PHP function JSON encode. So we have here an object named myObject. Then it has an object name, age, and city, and these are the contents. Name has a value of John, age has a value of 30, city has a value of New York. Then if you want to convert that in JSON, we'll just be using JSON encode, then the object. In this case, myObj. And the result will be like this one. Arrays in PHP can also be converted in JSON by using the PHP function JSON encode. So if we have an array, a for array named myr, and it has values of John, Mary, Peter, and Sally. And if you want to convert that in JSON, we'll just be calling JSON encode, then the array. So here's the result. So if the client's request method is get, then we will be calling the get student record function and store the result in the student's variable, encode the students to JSON using JSON encode function, then echo the encoded result. So if the client wants to is using an HTTP get method, then that means that they want to get the student records. So let's okay. And it is also a good practice that all JSON output should have a meta or the error code and message or status codes and message and the data or the results in array. So here's an example. So we have, let's copy the code here in index, paste that here, change this. Okay, so if the client is sending a get method, then we will return all student records. Then the result will be stored in an array or in an object. Array object meta, then array. Let's pass in a code. Oops. Oh, sorry. Let's pass in a code. The value is 200, meaning success. Then message. Send message. What did I write? Get student record. Get student record. Okay, the meta and the data. Let's just type in here. Comma. You move here. Okay, data is array. Okay. Array name student info. So it's just the same here. And the value is the result from the model. Okay, then we will return this here. Return a response set as JSON format, then the response data or this one. So if the user passed a get method, we will be getting all student info from the database using the student model, store that in student underscore info variable, then create an array with the meta and the data, then return the result in JSON format. So let's save, open Postman, okay, send the request. Why is it null? Okay, let's open this. Oh, it's returning a data. Oh, it's delete, sorry. Let's use get. Okay, here. Here are the records. So as you can see, we have a student in number 111. First name is Philip Alger, Malagueño Serrano. Sex is male. Date of birth is 1990-11. And the second one is 00722 KWE. So let's try to add another student. Add student 9999. Oh, let's see. Female 2021. Let's try that. Save. We now have that. Let's send this. And as you can see, here it is. So that's for the get method. So let's open. Okay. So that's the result. We also have a meta here and the data. Okay, next. And so for post method, we will first add an input validation. First, we will get all posted data, then check if there is actually a posted data. So, okay, let's remove this now. Sorry, just this one, since we will be copying some of the codes here. So, let's get the posted data. So, here's the validation. Let's just copy from the PowerPoint presentation. So, get post. Okay, let's copy that one. I don't think it's gonna work, but let's try it anyway. So post data is request get post. Oops. Okay, then let's try to print the post data. Go back to postman, post. It's null. So let's pass in some data here, body. Form data. What are the data? Student number, SN, FN, MN, last name, sex, DOB. Let's try 888 UYT. Sex is, let's try say 1, 80, 10, 10. Send. Okay, we can now get the datas. Okay, so if, let's move you. So if there is a posted data, if post data, then that means there's a posted data. Otherwise, there is no posted data, so we will return an error. Okay, let's return an error without this data array. The result, the status code will be 301. Let's hide it. 301. Let's do it again. Bad request, data is required. Oops. Bad request, data is required. So you can add whatever you want here. Okay, why is it asking? Oh, we have removed the bracket. Okay, save. Try to send this. Okay, since we have data, let's try none. Send. So it returns bad request, data is required. And we are still printing the array. Okay, let's remove this. Save. Send. So it's asking for data. But if we pass in the data, it will return null because we still haven't added the code here. So next. Okay, so let's add some basic validation. So if these datas are set, if is set, post data. So whatever variable name we set here should be the variables that the client will include on their request. So if we use SN, FN, MN, LN, and so on, these should be the exact variable names that the clients should use. So if we use SN here, let me check. Okay, why do you always go down? So if SN is set, do I have is set? Is set. Otherwise, there's an error. So what's the code? Same. Student number, first name, middle name, last name, sex, date of birth, or are required. Okay, so let's check one by one. FN, MN, LN, sex, MN, LN, sex, and DOB. So let's go back. Postman, send the request. It returns null because let's echo okay. Okay, meaning that all these datas are posted. Send. Okay, okay. But if we try to change a variable, let's change this to date of birth. Okay, it returns. It goes inside the else statement because we are checking for the DOB name instead of date of birth. So all post data should be equal to our validation. Okay, send. Okay. Okay, next. Store sent data in variables. So let's do so. So if all of these are set or posted, let's now store those in a variable. Catch. Let's manually type. Exception the die. If there is an exception, terminate or die. Save. Then save those inside a variable. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, fn for first name. Okay, mn. Just copy this, ln, sex, and date of birth. Okay, let's send. Open Postman. Let's see if there's an error. There's no error. Okay, then add the validation for each data, and for the student number, we will check if it doesn't have a value. Okay, so if true, we will return a JSON format and add the return false to terminate the function. Okay, let's add another validation. Wait, let me check. Where did I put this? Okay, so it's inside the if statement. Oh, another checking. Yeah, here we just check if there is a posted data. So if it doesn't have a value, then it should be checked here. So if not, if serial number doesn't have a value, if it is not null, or if it is null, meaning it doesn't have a value, we will return an error. Here, is it 301? Oh, it's a custom, or it's a client error. Its last name is required. Okay, last name is required. Okay. Okay, save. And return. Let's return the result so that it will not, it will terminate this, or it will not go below. Let's echo okay. So meaning if student number. If student number doesn't have a value, it will not proceed with it will not proceed below. Okay, send. So student number is required, meaning that it doesn't have a value. If you add a value, the code will proceed. It says here, okay. And let's do those for the other variables. So for the first name, okay, mn, ln, sex, dob. Okay. Okay, middle name, ln. For the last name, sex, and date of birth. Save. Let's try to remove date of birth. Okay, date of birth is required. Send. Okay. Okay, next. Then, if all data is validated, we now store all data in an array and call the insert student record function. So, meaning all columns has a value. Then, let's just let's copy this one. Yeah, let's copy that one. And here. And instead of this, let's copy this. Okay. So these are the column names. So it should be equal to the column name in our database. You should not replace this. So this should be equal to the column name of the table inside our database. First name, middle name, last name, and date of birth. So for the date of birth, you should just add another validation to check whether it is a date and in date format. Okay, so if successful. So if the result is 1, then it is a success. So if result is equal to 1, check. Insert, yeah, it returns 1 or 0. 1 meaning that insert is successful. What did I do here? Yeah, if result is 1, meaning it's successful, successfully inserted. And we will return a value or an array or data, an array in JSON format. Code is 200. Student record successfully inserted. So student record successfully inserted. Successfully inserted. Okay. Exclamation point. Let's add the data. Let's add data. Data array. Let's just do the best practice. That all results should be the same. Data. Should have done this earlier. Data. Okay, same here. Last one. Then, if insert is not successful, we'll return 500. Then the result. It's a server error, and message is the result. Okay. Let's try this one. Send. Student record successfully inserted. So in our application, we just have 3 student records. Let's refresh. This is now, why is it UUU? Wait. Number is SN. Oh yeah, we have. I thought there was an error. Send. Refresh. 868414. So here it is. Okay. Next. Okay, post is now finished. Okay, for put method, we will just copy the contents of the post method, then modify the following codes. So instead of get post, since get post only works if we are using post method, for put and delete, we will be using get row input. Okay, so why am I in base? Okay. Let's hide this. Okay, let's copy all of this, paste that inside put. Okay, then modify some of the codes. So instead of get post, we'll be using get row input. Okay, then what did I modify? Okay, for this update, we will be using the student number for updating. Okay, let's move that here and call the, okay, we don't need this anymore. Call the update student record method. So do that here. Okay, post data, then the student number. Oops. Okay. Data successfully updated. Okay, save. Go back to Postman. Let's update some data. So let's update 868414. Okay. Boy. And he. Then it's male. Let's change it to female. Change the date of birth to 1680. 55. Send. Did I left? So it's in the if statement. Get row input. Okay, let's try to return the post data. So enter post data. Save. Oh, why is it like this? Let's get row input. Get row input, put and data. Okay, wait. Let me check. Let's try. Let's try form URL encoded. Let's just copy this and oops. Next. Come on. Okay. Hoy. Sex is female. Change this to 7016. 4 9. Send. Sex is required. 0. Oh, it returns false because we passed 0. If sex is not null, so let's also do that for the insert. So this is a wrong one. Is sex is equal to blank. Let's trim that. So is it trim? So that it will remove white spaces. Where is okay? Trim. Okay, send. Okay, student record successfully updated. Let's just remove this, save, and refresh. So it's now updated. So let's change it again to male. And 1860, send, refresh. So that's it. Oh, I didn't change it to male, send. So that's it. That's for update. You should for Postman you should use form URL encoded. Okay, for put yeah, I have used form URL unencoded, not form data. Okay. Then for delete method, we only need the student number. So let's also copy the contents from post or put. Then just retain the student number like so. So let's do that. Where is copy, paste, the delete. Okay, let's remove some of the data. We just need the student number. So student number should be required. For the other columns, let's remove those. Okay, successfully deleted. Then go to delete record and copy this method. Okay, just do that. Okay, for delete, we only need the student number. So let's remove this now. Okay, remove that. Okay, so let's go back to Postman and pass delete. So even if we these are checked, this will be ignored. So send. Student record successfully deleted. So here's 868414, refresh. So 868414 is now deleted. Let's try to delete UUU. Send, refresh, and UUU is now deleted. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for developing an API endpoint for your CodeIgniter application. For our next lecture video, we will be implementing our developed API endpoint in our React Native application. So that's it for today. Thank you very much and see you next time.